I want to connect a couple of statements that men say a lot. One is that women refuse to apologize. Another is that women refuse to accept accountability. A third is that women are difficult to understand. Now, there are many people who refuse to apologize. There are many people who refuse to take accountability. And there are some people who are difficult to understand. None of those are traits of women or, just applying to women. They are human traits that some people have. And so you can take that part of the statement at face value that this applies to people in general. But when it is used to malign women, I think a lot of times the goal is to make women seem difficult, hard to deal with, unreasonable, things like that. And also, one other thing that I think is good to think about is that although the statement, as I already mentioned, is true for some people, sometimes the things that men want women to apologize for and take accountability for are neither things that need to be apologized for and not things that need to be taken accountability for, or the woman's already taken accountability. For example, let's say that a woman is living with a man, she's been working overtime all week, and she hasn't cooked dinner, you know, for him at any time this week. He could say, you owe me an apology. And she could say, no, I don't. You're an adult. We're living together. You knew my schedule. I let you know that I was going to be working late and that you needed to make other arrangements. And you felt that I was going to come in and cook despite me getting home super late, despite me coming home more tired than usual. I don't need to apologize for that. I gave you the information and you chose to not, feed yourself. So him expecting an apology or quote, expecting her to take accountability. First, she did take accountability when she let him know the situation. That's what being responsible is. You give people information so they can make informed choices. He is not her child. She doesn't owe him a meal. He's not dependent on her or should not be dependent on her to feed himself. He should be an adult who's able to feed himself as an adult, as one adult taking care of his own responsibilities. So that's not the only kind of situation like that. There are men who get upset with women for finding out that they're cheating, for asking them certain questions, for, not putting up with certain behavior. A person having standards is not something they need to apologize for. Having expectations, having boundaries, those are not things that people need to apologize for. That's part of being an adult in a healthy relationship. So sometimes there are people who use the excuse of a woman needing to apologize or needing to take accountability as actually a manipulation technique. And what they're trying to do is what's called a Darvo. They're trying to deny that what they're doing is wrong, accuse her of doing something wrong, and reverse the victim and offender roles so that now she becomes the one to blame. And often you'll see abusive people do this when they say, well, this wouldn't happen if you wouldn't have made me mad, and they've literally flipped their behavior onto the other person and said, hey, you're the reason that this happened. It's your fault. Rather than I should have taken control of myself. I should have been the person who made a better decision. So I think that sometimes when we hear these statements, we have to realize that not everybody who's saying these statements is coming from a genuine place. The people that are coming from a genuine place, yes, they have a point. There are people who don't apologize, people who don't take accountability. But the people that are coming from a place of manipulation, they're trying to manipulate. They're trying to undermine someone's attempt at their boundaries, their standards, their expectations, their own ability to consent or not consent to certain things by painting that person as a villain. And this happens way more than it should, because it shouldn't happen at all. So when we hear these kind of statements, I think it's good to remember that there's context for everything that people say and not just to take things at face value and just